You don't need a mansion or a Hollywood name to leave behind a story that's more than just fame.
You don't need a yacht or a Grammy to need a will, just a family or a cat plotting world domination. Welcome to Celebrity Estate Chaos, where we prove a lot of things. Like how estate chaos isn't just for millionaires with private islands, it's for anyone with stuff, relatives, or that one weird collection you think nobody's fighting over. And chances are, they will.
Okay, let's kind of dig into this. Michael Jackson, the king of pop, gone suddenly at just 50.
Yeah, 50 years old. It was a huge shock globally.
Huge. And almost right away, this massive question popped up. Who gets the fortune? The huge fortune.
Well, and it wasn't just, cash. It was this incredibly complex web of stuff.
Right.
Assets, the music catalog, his image, everything. And then you throw in the family dynamics, the legal stuff. It's a lot.
Exactly. So that's what we're doing in this deep dive, really getting into the weeds of the Michael Jackson estate battle, all the complexity, the drama too. We're pulling from different places. There's a YouTube transcript from Celebrity Estate Chaos, plus other details about his life, his career, legal takes on it, trying to give you the full picture of what went down after he died.
It's like a decade-long legal roller coaster, really.
Totally.
And, stepping back a bit, even if you listening don't have, hundreds of millions.
Well, billions, yeah.
Or billions. The kinds of issues that came up here, they offer some really valuable lessons about planning, looking out for family.
Absolutely. It's kind of surprising how relatable some of the core problems are, even if the scale's totally different. We're hoping for some real aha moments here for you.
Yeah, cut through the noise.
So let's start with the background.
Yeah.
I mean, Michael Jackson's life was just extraordinary.
Legendary is almost the word.
He was born in Gary, Indiana.
Yeah.
Jackson 5, right? Huge from the get-go.
Phenomenal.
Then the solo career just took off into the stratosphere, selling over 750 million records. He definitely earned that King of Pop title.
No question.
And the estate value started around, what, 500 million?
Initial estimates, yeah. But later on, some suggested it could be way higher, maybe closer to 2 billion.
Wow.
But we also have to remember, alongside that massive success, there was significant controversy.
Oh, yeah.
Allegations, his personal changes, that whole side of things. And that probably, made any planning even more complex.
Which kind of brings us to the absolute core issue here. Despite all that money, all that fame, Michael Jackson didn't really have a solid, comprehensive estate plan totally locked down when he died.
It makes you wonder, right? How does that happen?
Yeah, what do you think? Why not?
Well, as the Celebrity Estate Chaos source kind of touches on, he was intensely private.
True.
So maybe he just didn't want to lay out all his financial details, and maybe the controversies made him hesitant about formal, potentially public processes like that. It's a strange thing, isn't it? Sometimes the more complex things get life money, the harder it feels to actually plan for the end.
Like you just keep putting it off.
Yeah, putting off those tough talks, the decisions. It's kind of human, I guess.
Yeah.
Even massive wealth doesn't stop you avoiding uncomfortable stuff.
That's a really good point, the psychological side. Plus, didn't he seem to change advisors all the time? Financial people, lawyers, even doctors.
Yeah, that constant churn, that lack of steady guidance probably didn't help with long-term planning stability.
Made it hard to get traction.
Exactly. Things get missed.
Yeah.
But they did find a will about 2 weeks after he died.
Right, the will. Okay, so what did it say?
Well, it basically directed his assets into a trust.
Okay.
And the trust was set up to benefit his mother, Catherine, his 3 kids, Prince, Paris, and Blanket, who goes by Beiji now, and also some charities.
So the Michael Jackson Family Trust, that was the vehicle.
That was the plan, yeah. The main idea was clearly looking after his kids long-term, their well-being, financial security.
Makes sense.
It was likely, a standard revocable living trust. People use those to manage assets while alive and then pass them on, often trying to skip the whole public probate court thing.
I don't know, keep it more private.
But finding the will didn't exactly smooth things over.
Not even close. Almost immediately, some of his brothers and sisters, Randy, Jermaine, Rebby, Janet, they challenged it.
They contested it. On what grounds?
They claimed it was a forgery or that Michael was under undue influence when he signed it.
Wow.
It's kind of stark how fast money issues can cause these huge family rifts, isn't it?
Yeah. Sadly, that's not uncommon, especially with high-profile estates. The money's huge and old family stuff just boils over.
Yeah.
And then you had the issue of who would actually run the estate. The co-executors.
Right, John Branca and John McClane. Branca was his lawyer before, McClane a music exec.
They were named in the will.
Yep. But that appointment also got pushed back, especially for Randy Jackson. He had serious doubts about how they were handling things.
And what were the specific complaints? Our sources mention a few things.
Yeah, basically allegations of mismanaging the money, concerns about business deals they made, licensing agreements. Some family felt they were undervaluing Michael's stuff or just not bringing in enough income for the beneficiaries.
So real fundamental disagreements about the financial strategy.
Exactly. And while all that was going on, there was this separate, really personal question. Who takes care of the kids?
Right. Initially, their grandmother, Katherine Jackson, became their guardian.
But then, fast forward to 2012, and there's another twist.
Yes, T.J. Jackson, Tito's son.
He sought co-guardianship. Why was that?
Well, the concerns reported at the time were about Katherine's age, her health, and whether she could really handle the huge job of raising 3 kids on her own at that point.
It just shows how tangled up the money and the personal stuff can get, especially with kids involved.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's loop back to that trust. So Michael had a will. It pointed to the trust.
Yeah.
But you mentioned a key detail. He hadn't fully funded it. What does that actually mean?
Okay, this is super important because the assets, the house, the music rights, whatever, weren't legally moved into the name of the trust while he was alive. They had to go through probate.
And probate is?
Probate is the court process. It's public. It can take a long time. It can be expensive. The court validates the will, oversees paying debts, and distributing what's left.
Whereas if the trust was fully funded,
then those assets are already owned by the trust, so they typically bypass most of that probate process. It's usually faster, more private.
gotcha. So that one detail, not getting the assets formally into the trust, that's what kicked off the public, potentially costly probate thing we saw.
That's a huge part of it, yes.
So why wouldn't someone with so many complex things actually finish that step? Fund the trust. It seems like a major miss.
We can only really speculate, right? But maybe, like the YouTube source hints, he was just overwhelmed by how complicated it all was.
Yeah, I can imagine.
All the businesses, the intellectual property. Or maybe he didn't fully get the technical steps involved in transferring ownership. Or honestly, maybe he just planned to do it later, like so many people do.
It's a bit chilling, isn't it? Even with all the resources in the world, just the sheer admin hassle can stop things.
It can be a real roadblock. And then, layer on top of that, Michael Jackson's estate was also dealing with millions in unpaid taxes when he died.
Yeah.
And a bunch of legal judgments against him were still outstanding.
So more complications.
Yeah, these existing debts and legal issues just made administering the estate even harder, caused more delays, more legal fights.
And one of the biggest moves by the executors, Branca and McClane, was selling that huge chunk of the Sony ATV music catalog.
Very controversial, that sale.
Yeah, I mean, that catalog had rights to so many songs, including a ton of Beatles hits.
Iconic stuff.
The sale brought in a massive amount of money for the estate, which was needed, but...
But it really fueled more arguments within the family.
What was the core disagreement there?
Again, it seems like a lack of agreement. Some family members felt those incredibly valuable assets were sold too cheap.
Undervalued.
Yeah, or that they should have been consulted more, maybe even given a chance to be part of the deal somehow.
Okay, so more fighting, which probably led to more lawyers.
Predictably, yeah. Some family members took legal action, trying to challenge Branca and McClane's decisions, trying to get more control over the assets.
And how did that turn out in court?
Yeah, ultimately, the courts repeatedly sided with the executors. They upheld the will's validity and confirmed Branca and McClane's authority to manage the estate according to the will.
Okay, but that wasn't the end of the legal story, was it?
No, not at all. The legal issues are still going on, even now. Well, most significantly, those lawsuits from Wade Robson and James Safechuck, the ones linked to the Leaving Neverland documentary.
Right.
After some back and forth legally, those cases got the green light to go to trial back in 2023, and the trial itself is now set for, I think, November 2026.
Wow. Years later. It just shows how an estate can be dealing with the past for a very, very long time.
It really does. And even just this year, March 2024, Katherine Jackson asked the estate to pay her legal bills.
Which were probably substantial.
Very substantial, yeah. But her grandson, Biggie, objected to that request.
So the family tensions, the financial pressures, they're clearly still playing out.
Absolutely.
It's just such a compelling story. A cautionary one, maybe.
Yeah,
And it really makes you think about your own situation.
for sure.
What are the big takeaways here? The lessons our listeners can grab from all this complexity, even if they don't own Neverland Ranch.
I think the biggest lessons are really about the basics of good planning.
Yeah.
First off, have a will. Seriously, get one written.
And keep it updated. Life changes, right?
Yeah.
Marriage, kids, divorce.
Exactly. Your will needs to keep up.
And don't just write it and forget it. Store it somewhere sensible, not like hidden in a weird spot.
Right. And tell someone, your executor, a trusted family member, where it actually is. Communication is so important.
It seems obvious, but yeah.
Then choosing your executor, that's huge. Pick someone capable, trustworthy, and maybe not the sibling who starts drama at Thanksgiving, you know?
Good point. Someone level-headed.
Level-headed, organized. And think about guardianship. If you have young kids or even pets you care about, make clear plans for them. And just review the whole plan regularly. Every few years, take a look. Does it still make sense? Do you still want the same things?
And what about trusts? We talked about the funding issue, but is a trust something people should consider more?
Definitely worth considering, especially if your situation is a bit more complex. Maybe you own a business, have properties, or just really value privacy. A trust can offer advantages a simple will doesn't.
Right, like avoiding probate,
Yeah.
potentially.
Exactly. And Tina Jin, from that Celebrity Estate Chaos source, she really hammers this home.
Oh yeah, the author.
Yeah, she wrote a book called Don't Let Your Will Be the Family Mystery Thriller, which is a great title.
Huh, love it.
And she even has a chapter titled Who Gets the Sequin Glove? So she clearly tries to make this stuff approachable, maybe even a bit funny.
Makes it less scary.
Yeah. Her other books, dead funny, The Cat Gets Your Couch, Dividing the Pie. She seems skilled at breaking down these complicated, sometimes morbid topics.
Okay, so wrapping this up. This whole decade-plus saga with Michael Jackson's estate, the legal fights, the family stuff, it really just boils down to one main message for everyone listening, doesn't it?
I think so.
Proper, thorough estate planning isn't just for super-rich celebrities.
Not at all.
It's about reducing conflict, making sure your wishes happen, and giving your loved ones security, no matter how big or small your estate is.
Couldn't agree more. Which leads us to maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on. Thinking about all this complexity, the ongoing issues with the Jackson estate, what are the most important steps you could take, maybe even starting today, to get your own affairs clear, to bring some peace of mind, and protect your family from similar kinds of struggles down the road?
It's a really good question. What's your legacy going to look like? And what happens if you don't plan for it properly? Lots to think about there.